In your new report, you and your co-author estimate that selling these Nvidia chips in China would allow Beijing to buy twice as much AI compute power as it could produce domestically on its own this year. Now, if China gets that extra access to compute, what would that mean for the global AI race?
Yeah, advanced AI chips are the essential hardware that underpin frontier AI progress. So, allowing these exports erode the very key advantage the US currently has over China. Chinese companies themselves, Chinese AI developers, are quick to point out that access to chips and access to this computing power is the key bottleneck that they're currently facing. In the US, one of the bottlenecks is energy. China doesn't have that bottleneck. They're bringing on energy faster than they're able to in the US. And so, with this new computing power available, China can train more advanced AI models and deploy AI more broadly at scale. As China gets more chips and compute and more AI capacity, that also means that they'll be able to compete with the US in overseas markets.
One major concern, not least of all here in Taiwan, is the benefits that advanced AI could bring to China's military. Now, the new Trump administration rules specifically prohibit military use for these NVIDIA chips, but once they're inside China, how enforceable is that? I mean, how can the US be sure that these will not end up in military hands?
Enforcement is virtually impossible. So China's military civil fusion strategy systematically blurs that distinction between private sector firms and, government objectives. We see private sector platforms being used for AI cyber attacks, and we should continue to expect that boundary between private and public to blur in all countries, but especially China. Also, once chips leave US shores, there's nothing that can really be enforceable to stop them changing hands. And Chinese cloud providers, Chinese companies are also able to be directed under Chinese law to aid military and government actors. So I think this provision is really difficult to enforce, and it's not clear how that can be done by US government.
Some will argue that, look, if these chip bans stay in place, every dollar from Chinese customers that would have gone to Nvidia will instead go to China's Huawei. Every dollar that would have gone to TSMC will instead go to China's SMIC. All of that extra money will be plowed back into these Chinese R&D budgets and at a minimum will accelerate their speed of chip development. So if your goal is to maintain dominance in AI chip production, wouldn't it be better to sell these chips to China now and maintain some level of control over their advancement?
It's a great question. I've heard this narrative a lot. I don't think it has strong sway. The first thing is China has had a mission of self-sufficiency in semiconductors for over a decade. And we're not expecting that to change even if US chips become available. What we do expect to change is that suddenly China won't just have the small amount of scale and quality that they're able to produce domestically. They'll have as many chips as they want. And I think in a moment when there is strong competition for AI leadership, that could be very much not in the US interests and democratic interests. The other line I hear there is like, won't this keep China hooked? Won't it mean that they're then addicted to US technology, they get locked in, and then they won't move off it? And I think we're seeing clear evidence that that's not the case. I would see it as a short stop to really accelerate China's progress, but won't actually undermine their drive for indigenization.
Well, then let me just ask you bluntly. Do you see any national security or national interest benefit to the United States in allowing these NVIDIA chips to be sold in China?
No, I don't think there's any national interest benefits of these chips going to China. The stakes of AI transition and who leads this AI future are so high that I think it does not make sense to be giving away the greatest card in your hand to the biggest competitor that you have.